Van Jones showed y'all exactly who he is once again.
And as a social justice activist, as a person who identifies as a radical, I don't want to be part of any social justice movement that is transphobic, that is homophobic, that is anti-Semitic, that is Islamophobic, that is misogynist, that is patriarchal, that is ableist. No one is free until we are all free. There is no room for any injustice. I'm looking at the ritual humiliation of being patted and searched at the age of 6 and 7. When I'm in Khan al-Ahmar and I'm looking at this village of Bedouins, which is about to be torn down after they built schools out of tire and mud because they couldn't get permits. And I'm watching the village be torn down for the sole purpose of settlement expansion. When I'm looking on Via de la Rosa as Christians are honoring the Stations of the Cross, and at the very same moment that they look at their Savior carrying the cross, I'm looking at Palestinian children being stopped and searched and frisked in front of the Armenian hospice. I'm looking at these places. I'm looking at second-class citizenship inside of the state of Israel for African citizens and for refugees and for people seeking asylum. I'm looking at a place where people have a gap between their expressed democratic ideals and their lived practice on the ground. I promise you, I'm already criticizing Saudi, I'm already criticizing Bahrain, and I'm already criticizing Syria. I'm already doing these things. But the moment a call comes out of civil society from any of those countries for boycott, divestment, and sanction, I will back them too. It's not about isolating Israel. It's about speaking the truth everywhere.
And Marc Lamont has continuously shown his character as well.
Van Jones really is an American hero. He is such a friend of the Jewish community. He wears that pin on CNN. What I love about Van is that he makes so much sense, and he's so candid. And of course, we don't have to agree on everything. But the love that you have shown our community, and
the love that your community has shown my community for 100 years is where the sentence starts. And we've been together for 100 years. We're going to be together for 100 more. And it's an honor to be here today.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
Here he is with his brother, who he says he loves, Rabbi Shmuley, a man who does not and will not ever speak for the Jewish people.
This is not a march against Jewish people. This is not an anti-Semitic meetup. This is a principled struggle against Zionism. And don't let the media or anybody else have you think that when we say it's a principled struggle against Zionism, that we're talking about Judaism or that we're talking about Jewish traditions or Jewish cultures or Jewish rituals. No. We're talking about political Zionism. We are talking about the creation of a Jewish ethno-state in historic Palestine that dislocated and dispossessed indigenous Palestinian people, took their homes, took their land. That's right.
What shocks me to my core is CNN wants to be taken seriously, yet
I don't want to be silent because the Jewish community stood with the civil rights movement. Let's take a stand here against anti-Jewish bigotry. Let's take a stand against Muslims. Let's take a stand here against hatred. Let's take a stand here against hatred of all kinds.
They keep the "let's take a stand against Muslims" guy employed while
there's nothing wrong with saying, look, we've been allies for over 100 years. You stood with us, we're going to stand with you. That's what partnership and solidarity looks like. I understand that impulse and I ain't mad at it. I would say, though, that we should stand with Jewish people even if they didn't stand for civil rights. I don't stand with Jewish people because they did something for me. It's not transactional in my mind. I stand with Jewish people because standing with Jewish people is the right thing to do. We must fight anti-Semitism. And this, Van Jones, is the problem, my dear brother. You can't go trying to play both ends against the middle. This rally was not just for justice. This wasn't just for commemoration. This wasn't just for mourning. This was affirming the right of Israel to continue to wage war in Gaza by saying we stand in solidarity with what they're doing. We're not going to call for a ceasefire. We're not going to call for even a humanitarian pause. No, we're going to simply affirm Israel's right to do what it's doing in Gaza. And guess what? If you think I'm wrong, listen to that crowd. This rally was about affirming Israel as an apartheid state. And that is why your presence was dangerous and irresponsible. When you spoke out and said, look, let's have peace and justice for both sides, they damn near booed you off the stage. The kids got an expression. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That booing, that embarrassment, that frustration you felt, that was the prize. I hope there's a lesson to be learned in that.
This guy was let go by that very same network. In the wake of his diabolical joke on Maher's show, Jones would tweet, "Yeah, I messed up on this one, and I'm sorry. I was trying to raise awareness about foreign adversaries creating chaos online, which is undermining democracy everywhere. But what I said was easily misunderstood. And the way I said it was flat out insensitive. Babies are dying every day in Gaza. Nobody should dispute that fact or make light of it in any way. To the people living in fear and burying family members every day of all ages, I apologize." Sami Zayn wrote above it, "Apology not accepted." What's crazy is one user dug up an old song from Van Jones, which called for an end to the Israeli occupation and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. Yes, this is real. The New Republic wrote, "Calling Palestinians using social media to broadcast their own genocide a disinformation campaign is stupid and disgusting, especially given how hard it is to share that information in the first place." Jones later offered a half-hearted apology, but of course the damage was done here. NBC News correspondent Halagarani weighed in as well. "I've watched hundreds of hours of Gaza videos in the last 2 years, including content filmed by our brave teams inside the Strip, and can confirm that the dead Gaza baby images are quite real, not the product of a disinformation campaign, and that there is nothing funny about them." You know, we've done our fair share of stories on Van Jones, and our critiques are warranted. Because how, in this latest example, do you make a joke about babies being unalived at the behest of Benjamin Netanyahu and an apartheid regime? And then you go and be like, "Oh, yeah, actually, my bad." The entire audience laughed at it. The panelists laughed at it. And if you were not receiving some level of blowback, maybe if it was only just the leftists, then you probably wouldn't have even cared. That's how disgusting it was, which I also think points to how Van Jones, Rabbi Shmuley, and others who support this ethno-state are in the minority at this point, because it is clear that the public conscience has completely swayed away from what they support. I also think this is a case study for how getting a seat at the table doesn't really warrant, the sort of ideological purity that we would think could potentially be represented with that seat. Van Jones was a Maoist. This guy talked about revolution. And now, for all intents and purposes, it appears, after at least that latest speech where he said, let's stand to hate Muslim people, summarizing, that now he could potentially be getting paid by certain lobbyists or certain lobbies. Sonny Hostin confronted him on The View a few years ago, calling him a chameleon. And I think what speaks volumes to that is not only the moves he has made from being this sort of revolutionary-like figure who talked about it over and over, but the fact that he went on CNN, talked about a certain piece of legislation that the Trump administration was working on, and then via reporting afterwards, we only learned that he was working on that legislation. He was involved in it. And you're supposed to be coming on and speaking on a panel on CNN objectively about it, from the heart. He wasn't at all. Not at all. If you are photographed laughing and having a good time with Jared Kushner, and then, according to some reporting, meeting them behind the scenes, you have to state that. That is why no one should trust Van Jones. He's an opportunist, like a lot of others. I understand how, especially in this economy, and over time as you get older, that it can be hard to pass up. That's okay. Just say it, man. Just say it. The way that he has spoken about certain diabolical people is not only frustrating, but simultaneously showing exactly who he is. And I really don't think that we need any more information to draw conclusions at this point. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.